What is a futurist? I mean, I think, there's two things that people always want to know when you stand up and say, you're a futurist. A, what the hell is a futurist? And B, is it, even vaguely possible to predict the future? What I actually do is I think about the future. Now, everyone does that. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. You don't need a degree. You don't need anything in particular. You need time, critically. I think you need a certain level of sort of curiosity. The interesting thing is that I kind of am used by companies quite a lot to think about now, though, and this whole sort of futurist thing is a bit of an excuse to allow people to think deeply about what they're doing right now. We didn't have this level of connectivity last time. We didn't have the internet last time there was a recession. We didn't have the same attitude to risk that we've got now. But again, we seem to have shifted from a sort of period of irrational exuberance to a period of irrational pessimism, and there's people out there thinking this is never going to end, and it's a cycle, it will end. I actually think it's going to end sooner rather than later. I think it's going to end in 18 months and not be anywhere near. I mean, the financial system is not going to collapse anymore. It could have done, it's not anymore, I promise you. And I think we're just going to sort of come out of it. Where we come out, which I'll come back to at the end, is a really interesting question, and it affects everything at the moment. That's the world in 2050, according to Goldman Sachs. I don't think so, actually. China, US, UK. I actually think those are the other way around. I think the US is there, China's there. In fact, actually, there's a really strong argument saying China's not even on the map in 2050. China will have disintegrated by 2050, but for short-term purposes, which is kind of the next 5 to 10 years, yes. Massive shift. And what's kind of happening is money in particular, but from money, power, military might, cultural factors are shifting from the US through Europe into the Middle East, and particularly Asia, China and India. Now, what Goldman Sachs are doing is this, which is they're putting a line on it, just going whack. I'm sure they're not, actually. I'm sure they're way smarter than that. But this is quite an interesting chart I found. This is global GDP from the year 0 to 2005. Now, I don't know where on earth you get data on about 1700, but hey. I mean, it's the International Monetary Fund, so it's their chart. So they're not stupid. They must have got this from somewhere. I think this puts it into a beautiful perspective. It also teaches us that the most important thing when looking at the future is to look at the past. That's the first thing you do. China, been huge a couple of times before. Next year, 90% of scientists and engineers, 90% of scientists and engineers with a PhD will live in Asia. I mean, and these are smart people. They drive innovation. They invent stuff, intellectual property. That's a worry for the rest. That is a reason why maybe the US does do that. I think something like 40% of Silicon Valley startups are started by Indians and Chinese immigrants in the US. If they all go back home, yes, that could happen. So that's sort of one to watch. Assuming 8% growth in China, which is now deeply questionable, by 2020 there'll be 100 million Chinese households with living standards of an average European level. There are more Chinese people speaking English in China than there are here, Canada, Australia, and a couple of other small countries combined. I mean, just the numbers are just staggering. What's going to happen? I guess you're going to get 3 power blocks in the fairly foreseeable future, and I'm talking, I don't know, 2015, 2020, which is not that far away. You'll get the US, you'll get China, and you'll get Europe. Now, whether Europe is a power block, I don't know. It's so sort of fragmented already that whether it speaks with one voice or not, I don't know. But theoretically, it's the biggest market, which everyone forgets about. It's actually bigger than China.